Idam Namam Om Bhava Swaha Vaidam Namam Om Swaha Suryaye Idam Namam Om Bhurva Swaha Prajapate Idam Namam Om Bhurva Swaha
Bhargo Devasya Dhimani Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayano
Swaha Om Bhurva Swaha
Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimani Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayano Shiva. Shivaya.
Prajapate Swaha.
Prajapate Swaha.
Prajapate Idam Namama.
Prajapate Idam Namama.
Om It's a dialogue between, I believe most of the time it's a Westerner with Maharaj. It starts off with the questioner. It is our repeated experience that the disciples do much harm to their gurus. How true that is. They make plans and carry them out without considering the guru's wishes. And I know I have violated this too. In the end, there is only endless worry for the guru and bitterness for his disciples. Maharaj, yes, it does happen. Questioner, who compels the guru to submit to these indignities? Maharaj, the guru is basically without desire. He sees what happens, but feels no urge to interfere. He makes no choices, takes no decisions. As pure witness, he watches what is going on and remains unaffected. Questioner, but his work suffers. Maharaj, victory is always his in the end. He knows that if his disciples do not learn from his words, they will learn from their own mistakes. Inwardly, he remains quiet and silent. He has no sense of being a separate person. The entire universe is his own, including his disciples with their petty plans. Nothing in particular affects him, or, which comes to the same, the entire universe affects him in equal measure. Questioner, is there no such thing as Guru's grace? Maharaj, his grace is constant and universal. It is not given to one and denied to another. Questioner, how does it affect me personally? Maharaj, it is by the Guru's grace that your mind is engaged in the search for truth, and it is by his grace that you will find it. It works unwearingly towards your ultimate good, and it is for all. Questioner, some disciples are ready, mature, and some are not. Must not the Guru exercise choice and make decisions? Maharaj, the Guru knows the ultimate and relentlessly propels the disciple towards it. The disciple is full of obstacles, which he himself must overcome. The Guru is not very much concerned with the superficialities of the disciple's life. It is like gravitation. The fruit must fall, when no longer held back. Questioner: if the disciple does not know the goal, how can he make out the obstacles? Maharaj: the goal is shown by the Guru. Obstacles are discovered by the disciple. The Guru has no preferences, but those who have obstacles to overcome seems to be lagging behind. In reality, the disciple is not different from the Guru. He is the same dimensional center of perception and love in action. It is only the imagination and self-identification with the imagined that encloses him and converts him into a person. The Guru is concerned little with the person. His attention is on the inner watcher. It is the task of the watcher to understand and thereby eliminate the person. While there is grace on one side, there must be dedication to the task on the other. Questioner: but the person does not want to be eliminated. Maharaj: the person is merely the result of a misunderstanding. In reality, there is no such thing. Feelings, thoughts, and actions race before the watcher in endless succession, leaving traces in the brain and creating an illusion of continuity. A reflection of the watcher in the mind creates the sense of I. The person acquires an apparently independent existence. In reality, there is no such person, only the watcher, identifying himself with the I and the mind. The teacher tells the watcher, you are not this. There is nothing of yours in this, except the little point of I am, which is the bridge between the watcher and his dream. I am this, I am that, his dream, while pure I am, has the stamp of reality on it. You have tasted so many things, all came to naught. Only the sense I am persisted, unchanged. Stay with the changeless among the changeful until you are able to go beyond. Questioner: when will it happen? Maharaj: it will happen as soon as you remove the obstacles. Questioner: which obstacles? Maharaj: desire for the false and fear of the truth. You as the person. Imagine that the Guru is interested in you as the person. Not at all. To him, you are a nuisance and a hindrance to be done away with. He actually aims at your elimination as a factor in consciousness. Question: if I am eliminated, what will remain? Maharaj: nothing will remain. All will remain. The sense of identity will remain, but no longer identification with a particular body. Being, awareness, love will shine in full splendor. Liberation is never of the person. It is always from the person. Questioner. And no trace remains of the person? Maharaj, a vague memory remains, like the memory of a dream or early childhood. After all, what is there to remember? A flow of events, mostly accidental and meaningless, a sequence of desires and fears, and an inane blunders. Is there anything worth remembering? The person is but a shell imprisoned in you. Break the shell. Questioner. Whom are you asking to break the shell? Who is to break the shell? Maharaj, break the bonds of memory and self-identification, and the shell will break by itself. There is a center that implants reality to whatever it perceives. All you need is to understand you are the source of reality, that you give reality instead of getting it, that you need no support and no confirmation. Things are as they are because you accept them as they are. Stop accepting them and they will dissolve. Whatever you think about with desire or fear appears before you as real. Look at it without desire or fear, and it does lose substance. Pleasure and pain are momentary. It is simpler and easier to disregard them than to act on them. Questioner. If all things come to an end, why did they appear at all? Maharaj, creation is the very nature of consciousness. Consciousness causes appearances. Reality is beyond appearances. Questioner. While we are conscious of appearances, how is it that we are not conscious that these are mere appearances? Maharaj, the mind covers up reality without knowing it. To know the nature of mind, you need intelligence, the capacity to look at the mind in silent and dispassionate awareness. Questioner. If I am the nature of all-pervading consciousness, how could ignorance and illusion happen to me? Maharaj, neither ignorance nor illusion ever happened to you. Find the self to which you ascribe ignorance and illusion, and your questions will be answered. You talk as if you know the self and see it to be under the sway of ignorance and illusion, but in fact you do not know the self, nor are you aware of ignorance. By all means become aware. This will bring you to the self, and you will realize that there is neither ignorance nor delusion in it. It is like saying, if the sun is, how can darkness be? As a stone, as under a stone, there will be darkness. However strong the sunlight, so in the shadow of the I am the body, consciousness, there must be ignorance and illusion. Questioner. But why did the body consciousness come into being? Maharaj, don't ask why, ask how. It is the nature of creative imagination to identify itself with its creations. You can stop at any moment by switching off attention, or through investigation. Questioner, does creation come before investigation? Maharaj, first you create a world And then the I becomes a person who is not happy for various reasons. Questioner, why is my faith so weak? Maharaj, desires and fear have dulled your mind. It needs some scrubbing. Questioner, how can I clear my mind? Maharaj, by watching it relentlessly. Inattention obscures. Attention clarifies. Questioner, why do the Indian teachers advocate inactivity? Maharaj, most people's activities are valueless, if not outright destructive. Dominated by desire and fear, they can do nothing good. Ceasing to do evil precedes beginning to do good. Hence, the need for stopping all activities for a time, to investigate one's urges and their motives. See that all is false in one's life. Purge the mind of all evil, and then only restart work, beginning with one's obvious duties. Of course, if you have a chance to help somebody, by all means do it promptly too. Don't keep him waiting till you are perfect. But do not become a professional do-gooder. Questioner, I do not feel there are too many do-gooders among disciples. Most of them I have met are too absorbed in their own petty conflicts. They have no heart for each other. Maharaj, such self-centeredness is temporary. Be patient with such people. For so many years they gave attention to everything but themselves. Let them turn to themselves for a chance. Questioner, what are the fruits of self-awareness? Maharaj, you grow more intelligent. In awareness, you learn. In self-awareness, you learn about yourself. Of course, you can only learn what you are not. To know what you are, you must go beyond the mind. Questioner, is not awareness beyond the mind? Maharaj, awareness is the point at which the mind reaches out beyond itself into reality. In awareness you seek not what pleases, but what is true. Questioner, I find that awareness brings about a state of inner silence, a state of psychic void. Maharaj, it is all right as it goes, but it is not enough. Have you felt the all-embracing emptiness in which the universe swims like a cloud in a blue sky? Questioner, sir, let me first come to know well my own inner space. Maharaj, destroy the wall that separates the I am the Mahdi idea, and the inner and outer will become one. Questioner, am I to die? Maharaj, physical destruction is meaningless. It is the clinging to the sensate life that binds you. If you could experience the inner void fully, the explosion into totality would be near. Questioner, my own spiritual existence has its seasons. Sometime I feel glorious, then again I am down. I'm like a little boy, going up, going down, going up and going down. Maharaj, All changes in consciousness are due to the I am the body idea. Divest of this idea, the mind becomes steady. There is a pure being, free of experiencing anything in particular. But to realize it, you must do what the teacher tells you. Mere listening, even memorizing, is not enough. If you do not struggle hard to apply every word of it in your daily life, don't complain that you have made no progress. All real progress is irreversible. Ups and downs merely show that the teaching has not been taken to heart and translated into full action. Questioner, the other day you told us that there is no such thing as karma. Yet we see that everything has a cause, and the sum of total of all causes may be called karma. Maharaj, as long as you believe yourself to be the body, you ascribe causes to everything. I do not say that things have no causes. Each thing has innumerable causes. It is as it is because the world is as it is. Every cause in its ramifications covers the universe. When you realize that you are absolutely free to be what you consent to be, that you are what you appear to be, because of ignorance or indifference, you are free to revolt and change. You allow yourself to be what you are not. You are looking for the causes of being what you are not. It is a futile search. There are no causes, but your ignorance of your real being, which is perfect and beyond all causation. For whatever happens, all the universe is responsible, and you are the source of the universe. Question: I know nothing about being the cause of the universe. Maharaj, because you do not investigate. Inquire, search within, and you will know. Questioner: how can a speck like me create the vast universe? Maharaj, when you are infected with the I am the body virus, a whole universe springs into being. But when you have had enough of it, you cherish some fanciful ideas about liberation and pursue lines of action totally futile. You concentrate, you meditate, you torture your mind and body, you do all sorts of unnecessary things, but you miss the essential, which is the elimination of the person. Questioner: in the beginning, we may have to pray and meditate for some time before we are ready for self-inquiry. Maharaj, if you believe so, go on. To me, all delay is a waste of time. You can skip all the preparations and go directly for the ultimate search within. Of all the yogas, it is the simplest and the shortest. End of chapter.
I was thinking maybe I'll do it tomorrow.
Being and becoming are the two movements of the body and mind. And these two movements of the body and mind are like coming and going somewhere. Your body and mind cannot stop coming and going, cannot stop being and becoming. The moment you become this, that very same moment you want to become that. Otherwise you do not feel happy. The moment you come here, that very moment you want to go there. That is to say, you always want to be somewhere else. And this movement is the inherent nature of the body and the mind. You can stop for the time being the movement of the body, but you cannot stop the movement of your mind. Your mind is always somewhere else, never here, except for the time being. Although you like something very much, your mind can even have a world tour at the same time that you're liking that very much. When you're poor, living hand to mouth, then to be satisfied you simply want a cup of tea, a piece of toast, and you feel happy. But after that you're not happy, because then you begin to think about having a full meal. And then when you have a full meal every day, then you start to become hungry to have a house.
To go to the Bright Star.
Bright Star. And then when you have a house, you're not happy because your house is empty, it needs some furniture. A boy or a girl wants to become a student, and then when you're a student, you want to become a teacher, a professor, and when you become a professor, you want to become a principal. And then when you're an ordinary politician, you know you want to become a mayor. And then from a mayor, you must become a governor. When you're a governor, of course you want to become vice president and then president. If you're a disciple, you want to become a guru. And then even when you become a guru, you want to become a Sadguru. And then when you become a Sadguru, you want to become the Son of God. And when you become the Son of God, of course you want to become God Himself. And then when you become God Himself, you want to become the absolute God. When you're a servant or an employee in any company or firm, you know you want to become a supervisor next. When you become the supervisor, then you have your eye on becoming the boss. And when you become the boss, you're not happy without spreading your offices all over the world.
Don't look at me, Joan. I'm guilty enough.
A daughter wants to become a mother. The mother wants to become grandmother. A son wants to become father. The father wants to become the grandfather. In short, in this way, every aspect of individual life and every brand of business, without exception, is a race course of being and becoming. And Guruji says, I would like to ask you, do you know any exception to this rule? Because if you do, please inform me, because I do not know. It will be something new for me. Many people want to stop this race course of being and becoming of the mind and body. But do they ever become successful? Have you ever heard of anybody who did not want to become something or other? An ordinary priest wants to become a bishop. A bishop wants to become the archbishop, cardinal. And the archbishop and cardinal, of course, want to become the pope. The pope wants to become Jesus Christ. And so it goes. Every brand of life is full of this race course of being and becoming. Many people are praying to God to stop this business of being and becoming, but they find their prayers are not very helpful. And many people have written many books on this subject, and they recommend a world of no being and no becoming. They advocate not being or becoming this or that. But the problem is you cannot stop this race course of being and becoming. Because this topic, these books of stopping the being and becoming, is just another type of being and becoming. So we must understand the real nature of this being and becoming. Why has Mother Nature empowered you with the power of being and becoming? First of all, you have to search whether this process of being and becoming is natural or unnatural. And then you can do something about it. Hunger, thirst, bowel movement, sleep, awakening, dreaming, these are all natural. You cannot stop them. You have to follow them if you want to be happy. But if anything is unnatural, such as drinking, smoking, taking any type of intoxicating drug, that you can stop. Although you may have a difficult time, there is always the possibility to stop them. But you cannot stop those things that are natural. Can you stop your breathing? The universe of being and becoming belongs to the body and the mind. The principle of I am, or consciousness, is always beyond the body and mind, although seemingly consciousness is part of the psychosomatic machine, but that is only seemingly. Pure consciousness, pure awareness, is always beyond the body and mind, because it was present when your body and mind were not born. Although psychosomatic consciousness is physical consciousness and derives from the food and water that we eat and drink in quality and quantity, seemingly in physical nature, yet pure consciousness or pure awareness is eternally beyond the psychosomatic mechanism. In the portable radio, the program seems to be moving, although the program is everywhere in the atmosphere, which is not moving. And this same thing can be told about the TV. The program is omnipresent in the atmosphere, although that program seems to be moving in the portable TV. Well, in the same way, pure awareness or pure consciousness is omnipresent, beyond any being and becoming. But due to identity with the body and mind, the I am or consciousness seems to be passing through the process of being and becoming, of coming and going. Pure awareness or pure consciousness is omnipresent and doesn't need to move anywhere, because it is always and everywhere present. If you meditate on the Absolute in the form of I am, then you can be in absolute beingness. And this absolute beingness is beyond the beings and becomings of the body and mind. When you meditate on the principle of I am, then it is possible to enjoy the being and becoming of your body and mind. Because really every being and becoming of the body and mind is just to entertain you, including your birth, your death, any calamity, sickness, just to entertain you. You cannot stop being, you cannot stop the being and becoming of your body and mind, but you can be, by meditation, beyond them. Because the principle of I am is not this and not that. It is beyond every type of being and becoming. It is a common experience that in spite of the infinite number of beings and becomings in your life, from childhood until this very moment, the principle of I am is always beyond all these beings and becomings. Suppose you take a drama. Sometimes in the drama you become a girl, and sometimes a boy. Sometimes you take the part of a saint. Sometimes you can become a robber, a thief in the drama. Sometimes a king, sometimes a beggar, sometimes even an emperor. But when the play is over, then you can realize the principle of I am is beyond everything. It has not become anything. It simply remains what it is. So the same thing is going on in our dreams. Sometimes in our dreams we become poor, we're a beggar, and sometimes we find that we're a king, so forth and so on. But after awakening from this dream, you realize it was mere fantasy. In three-dimensional movies, cinerama, panorama, we move with that movie. Whatever scenery is going on, whether it is a snow-covered mountain or a forest or an ocean, we move with that particular scenery. But in reality, we know we're sitting in the same place or standing. We're not moving. It's the three-dimensional film that's moving. We're not moving. Well, in the same way, the universe of the being and the becoming of the body and mind, from birth to death, from childhood to old age, from male to female, is moving through the process of infinite beings and becomings, but the principle of I am is beyond every being and every becoming. The principle of I am is not born with the birth of the body, so it is not old with the old age of the body. It's not sick with the sickness of the body. It is not sick with the sickness of the mind. And it is not going to die with the death of the body. The I am principle is not male with wild horses were going to come towards her and run right over her. So in short, the principle of I am is beyond being and becoming. But the universe of mind and body is full of infinite beings and becomings. And that's natural. If you are identified with the beings and becomings of the body and mind, in this case, like that woman, you're going to be terrified, and you will suffer from these beings and becomings of your body and mind from birth to death. And that is because your I am principle is identified with your body and mind. Relative beings and becomings need time and space. They need cause and effect, while the absolute I am is the absolute being beyond time and space, beyond cause and effect. Gurdjieff reminds us that everybody likes a barking dog, but nobody likes barking men. And in the same way, everybody likes the being and becomings of the body and mind, but nobody likes the being and becoming of the principle of I am. What is the purpose for psychosomatic consciousness or mental consciousness to pass through the mechanism of being and becoming? The purpose for mental consciousness to pass through the process of being and becoming is to approach absolute being, where no more becoming is possible. Every being and every becoming is like the river which must end in the ocean. Birth after death, death after birth. Psyche is passing through the mechanism of being and becoming until it realizes that absolute beingness. And then after that, the psychosomatic machine is transformed from individual existence to the universal existence. And of course, Guruji says, to facilitate your understanding of this complicated subject, I would like to narrate the story of a marvelous fish. And the story goes as follows. Once upon a time, the creator, Brahma, was in a very deep sleep. And at that time, a demon came whose name was Haragriva, or horse neck. And this demon, horse neck, stole from Brahma's brain all the 4 Vedas, which were the ocean of creative wisdom. When Brahma awakened, Brahma was bunkum. Because his creative wisdom had been stolen. He had lost all of it, and so he became just an ordinary king on earth. He decided, realizing that he was just bunkum, that it was very important to change his name so that nobody could know that once upon a time this Lord of Bunkum was actually the creator of the universe. He felt that if people knew that, they would laugh and laugh. So he took the new name of Shri Satyavrata. And as a king, he turned out to be a very nice king. Ruling over the whole earth and regularly worshipping God. He was even going regularly to bathe in the river Karma. And after bathing, he would sit and meditate and pray to God. Well, one day he was performing his ablution ceremony to the sun god, offering water with cupped hands, when to his amazement, a fish jumped into his palm. Well, the king threw the fish back into the Karma river, washed his hands, and continued to perform the same ceremony. And when he raised his cupped palms again, the same thing happened. That fish jumped into his cupped palms as he had done before. And each time, King Satyavrata tossed the fish back into the river Karma. Over and over and over and over again, this fish would jump into his palms. Ultimately, the fish became rather impatient. He says, "May I ask what you're doing, throwing me back into the river each time? Are you not the king?" Excuse me. This is some magic here. Oops. Amen. Okay. Oh, the other way? This way. Help me.
This side about it.
Oh, then it has to go under. I can tell it's a long time since I've been in the theater. So the fish said, "May I ask what you're doing? Why do you keep throwing me back into the river each time I jump into your palms? Are you not the king? And am I not your subject? Aren't you responsible for protecting me? Don't you know that in the river Karma, those aquatic animals are going to eat me? Can't you do something other than throw me back in that river?" Well, the king began to understand his mistake. So, out of his kind nature, he brought the fish home and placed the fish into a water pot. But when he looked again into the water pot, sometime later, he found that the whole water pot was filled with the body of that fish. And the fish asked him, "O king, please be kind. You can see this pot is not large enough to contain my body." The king agreed, so he placed the fish this time in his royal bathtub. And not 60 seconds had gone by, but the king found his whole bathtub was filled now with the body of that fish. And the fish said, "Please, king, be merciful. All the time you're placing me in places that are too small. Kindly search a suitable place for me." Well, the king thought and remembered that in his palace there was a very large swimming pool. And so he brought the fish and placed him in that royal swimming pool. In a flash, the body of the fish grew so much, the whole swimming pool was not large enough to contain that fish. And the fish cried out, "I asked you to find a suitable place for me. This is not a suitable place. It's too small." Well, with the help of many soldiers, the king placed that huge fish in a beautiful large lake that was surrounding the palace. But you know what happened. In less than a flash, the body of that fish grew so large that even that large lake could not contain it. The fish was getting very tired. "Sir, can't you think of some larger place than this lake? This lake is not large enough." The king summoned the whole army to then place the fish in the mighty ocean. That was the proper place, because as soon as he was in that, the fish bowed his head and thanked the king. Now this king was very confused. He could not understand this remarkable growth of this fish. He couldn't understand the mystery behind that fish. And the king spoke and said, "Tell me, are you God Narayana? Because I've seen many fish, but I've never seen a fish like you. In fact, come to think of it, I never saw a fish that speaks the human language. Not only one language, you speak many languages, including Sanskrit. I think I have to ask you to be good enough to tell me your history and your mystery." And then the fish began to tell him. "Once upon a time, O king, you were the creator of the whole universe. And when you were sleeping, the demon Hayagriva pilfered all the four Vedas from your brain. And so you lost your creative wisdom to create the universe. So let me tell you, the ghost of that demon is still hovering, still ruling over your mind and spirit. And I came to bless you. And I'm also going to inform you that after 7 days, this entire universe will be inundated with the water of dissolution. A mighty boat with 7 rishis will appear at that time, and you will see that tied onto my head. My work shall be to perform as the living engine of that boat. I suggest that you get aboard the boat, and at that time I shall again talk with you." Well, the king decided he should wait for that appointed time. And sure enough, after 7 days, the whole world was inundated with the water of dissolution. And to his amazement, the king saw not only a boat, but a golden boat with those 7 rishis tied onto the head of that fish, and it was coming swiftly toward him. Well, the king remembered his instructions and boarded the boat. And it was at that time that the dialogue occurred between the fish and the king. And he was informed that what he must do is meditate on the form of the absolute I am. And in this way, the king regained his original form. That is to say, the form of the Creator. This is the story of the incarnation of God in the form of a fish. Now, do you know that Creator? Do you know who is that Hayagriva, and do you know the Karma river? And what about that boat, those 7 rishis, the water of dissolution? And what about that fish? You are that Creator. When you're selfish, with ulterior motives, then you lose the power of creation, because then you're under the influence of individuality, which is as powerful as a horse's neck, or Hayagriva. For when a man becomes selfish, then he has power that's mightier than a demon. It is said in answer to the question, who is greater than God? The answer is personality and individuality are greater than God. The fish, you know the fish. The fish is our mind. The more you get, the hungrier your mind becomes. The fish cannot live without water. A fish needs water all the time, and it dies when its body is out of the water. But when the fish is in the water of the ocean, which is like the universal I am, then and then only the fish becomes happy. Our mind is fish, and you cannot satisfy this fish, no matter what you do, unless it comes upon and finds the ocean of the absolute God. The golden boat is like the psychic body. The 7 rishis are the 7 chakras by which this boat is tied up firmly. The karma river is our karma, and everybody has to cross this karma river. You have to go beyond the beings and becomings of the body and mind. And this you cannot do without meditating on the Absolute in the form of I am, beyond the body and mind. For when you do that, your fish mind becomes the seed of incarnation of cosmic consciousness or Vishnu. Your mind is the seed of cosmic consciousness already. But the seed has to be sprouted by love and meditation on the cosmic I am. No one can jump directly from the individual I am into the absolute I am. The individual I am can jump into absolute I am only through the cosmic or the universal I am. And this, Guruji reminds us, is the mystery of Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is cosmic consciousness. And no one can have absolute consciousness or absolute I am without passing through the universal I am, or the Christ consciousness. Cosmic consciousness, Vishnu consciousness, Buddha consciousness, universal consciousness, Christ consciousness, so on and so forth, are just the play of words and language. Really, they are the same thing. You have to go from your individual I am to the absolute I am through the cosmic I am. That is a fact. And this you may tell in 1,000 different ways according to your understanding. The truth is that ultimately reality is beyond all names and all language. It is a common experience that the principle of I am always remains unknown. You cannot perceive it, you cannot translate it by any means. You cannot perceive the sun by any other light than its own light, by its own sunlight. In the same way, you cannot perceive the absolute I am without being it. You can tell by methods of rejection. You can say, I am not this, I am not that. I am not this body, I am not this mind. But don't worry, because you are that. Tat tvam asi. By knowing what you are not, in that way you will come to know the real form of I am. And this way you can enjoy the blessings of being and becoming, and at the very same time you know that you are beyond every being and becoming, because you know that you are absolute beingness. You are that. You are never born and you never die. And you are never becoming this or that. It is the mind and body which are passing through being and becoming from moment to moment. And when you realize this fact directly, then you become absolutely free from birth and death, and you become the absolute I am. Om Shanti, Shri Brahmananda, Sarasvati.
And when was that written? Was that in this year too?
That was Sarasota, Florida, February 13th, 1986.
What's the title of that?
The title, The Universe of Being and Becoming.
Great. Human. Meditate on I am, beyond the body and mind.
Meditate on I am, beyond the body and mind.
Then we will find you are everywhere.
And you will find you are everywhere.
Then on I am, beyond the body and mind.
Meditate on I am beyond the body and mind.